The show where there are no penalties, nothing is offside, and everything is fair game. This is The Gloves Are Off.
Hello and welcome to another edition of The Gloves Are Off. I'm Moses Woldu, and it's going to be jam-packed as per usual. And of course, I'm pleased to be joined by this man as per usual, Andrew Brethauer from Lloydminster Source. Pleased to have you on once again. It's a MLA from Vermilion Lloydminster, Richard Starkey. It's been way too long.
It's been a while, but we've been both busy, and it's great to be back.
Let's move forward and talk about the Holy Rosary Raiders. Yeah. You look at this team and where they've come over the last 2 years. They've won 20-plus consecutive now, including last year winning the Tier 4 championship. They move up a tier. They play through the Wheatland. They win that, not just win it barely or by the skin of their teeth, convincingly. Then you move on to their zones. They took on the Fort Mac team, again, like I said, the Knights, and they beat them 52-22. They said they played a bad game, and they put up 52 points. Can this team be stopped, even though they moved up to a new tier? And, you know, when you think new tier, you're thinking harder competition. Richard.
Holy Rosary is very well coached. Head coach Vince Oreo is really, really good at not just, coaching, but also teaching, the players. And, it's really quite a remarkable thing when you consider, it wasn't that many years ago that they started in 9-man. And, then they moved up to 12. And then, with 12 men, and they've, progressed and become dominant within the Wheatland League. And, of course, this weekend playing Sylvan Lake and, moving along. But, so many other factors that can happen in football, weather conditions, especially this time of year, and, key injuries, all those different things. So it's always hard to predict, but, in terms of the preparation that they've done, they're obviously well coached. They're obviously a very strong team. And you hope for the best for them. I think they have a very good possibility of going all the way, but we'll see what happens.
It's amazing, and 7 touchdowns in 2 provincial or final games. I don't know how you don't slow this team down. They just pound you, and they'll beat you every way. They'll out-coach you, they'll outrun you, out-throw you, out-defense, everything. That's the remarkable thing about the Holy Rosary Raiders. It's not just one way they're going to beat you. They can beat you in a defensive game. They can beat you air, running. And I don't think many teams in this province, not just in the Wheatland, obviously the Wheatland can't, but in the province can't handle that kind of pressure and that kind of sustain, that kind of game. And that's where Holy Rosary has as benefits of having everything coming together all at one time, and they're just knocking teams around. Like it's in a sense not even fair. Like, how do you beat a team like that? You can survive 1 quarter, but you can't survive 4.
Let's talk about the CFL playoffs that are going to finally begin. As a Rider fan, you kind of shove the season away. 3-15.
Hey, they won. They won
game,
Sunday.
But just like the garbage bags, you're taking out the trash. You're moving on to 2016. Let's talk about the teams that are in the playoffs. We'll start with the East. Toronto, they have their quarterback back, even though you had a guy who came in as a backup, Harris, who's done a good job. They have Ricky Ray, who will start. You look at these situations that are happening with Hamilton. Then, of course, on the other end, you have BC, a team that struggled, did make the playoffs. And then they're taking on a Calgary team that's a bit banged up, but starting to find some bodies a little bit later down the road. We'll start with you, Andrew. Who are your picks to win the East semi and the West semi?
I'm going Hamilton and Calgary, the 2 teams last year from the final. I love dealing with experience. I think when it comes to playoffs, it's an entirely different thing. This isn't the regular season. Teams who've been to the finals last year know what it takes to get back to there. So that's my 2 teams.
Okay, well, Calgary, that's a given. BC, I don't think can touch Calgary, especially Calgary's at home. Calgary's got a bit of a chip on their shoulder. I think want to get to Edmonton real bad. And so I don't think that'll be even all that close a game. I really think you see Calgary winning that game handily. In the East, I think it'll be close, but I think Toronto will win that game. I think without Collaros, Hamilton has been a very different team since Collaros went down. Even their defense just doesn't have the kind of swagger that it once did. I think back to that game when they played against Edmonton earlier in the year in late August, and Hamilton, they were the team to beat. But once Collaros went down, it seemed like it sort of took the air out of the balloon, both on the offensive and the defensive side. Henry Burris just carved them up last weekend. And so, Ricky Ray being back.
Think about it, 2 consecutive weekends they played back to back.
Yeah, they did. And Ricky Ray being back, I think that makes, a big difference. I just think I give the edge in that one to Toronto, although I do think it'll be fairly close. But in the West, you know, it's hard not to pick Calgary. I mean, that's still a very, very good football team, and I think when it comes into the final at Commonwealth Stadium in a couple of weeks, I think the Eskimos are going to have their hands full. And part of the reason I say that, and we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, part of the reason I say that is because Edmonton hasn't established a real solid running game. And the farther you go into the season in the CFL, as far as I'm concerned, you have to have a running game. Now, Calgary's addressed the injury to John Cornish by obtaining Jerome Messam.
Former rider,
former Eskimo.
Yep.
And, you know, Messam is a running back that is built for that sort of cold weather, straight ahead, very hard runner, you know, big guy. You know, I think the running game becomes so critical later in the season that, you know, I give Calgary, you know, really an advantage going right through the playoffs. As far as in the East, boy, you know, you got to be kind of happy, you know, whether you love him or hate him with Henry Burris. You know, and I know a lot of Rider fans are, you know, aren't happy with Henry Burris, but you got to love a guy who's 40 plus and has put up the kind of numbers that he's put up this year.
We're going to take a timeout and return with more Gloves Are Off.